Hopefully this time we can get the order of the buttons correct. That's what happens when you have to set up an entirely new studio for a new thing. Everything's in the wrong place.
Mm.
So, my apologies. This was not Evie Mux's fault for once. That was my hitting wrong buttons. How is everyone tonight?
Yeah.
Crickets.
I've been watching Crusade, so yeah.
Yes,
It's
now you get to complain about it.
well, you know what? Let me start off by saying something positive. It might not be the greatest show of all time, but it is the greatest sleep aid I have come across recently. I'm not joking. I have fallen asleep on a call to arms 5 or 6 times. I've fallen asleep on almost every episode of this show. And it's
5
not,
to 6 times?
yeah, I'm
Oh,
not
you mean in
joking,
one
man.
session, or you watched it 5 to 6 times?
Like, I have started the movie, fallen asleep on it, and then tried again another day, five different times,
Okay. I thought,
and still fell asleep on it every time I tried, and then I finally finished it.
yeah.
So, this is probably going to be the first, and I'd like to say it's going to be the only time I do a show on things I don't like as opposed to things I like, but I already have one other in mind. So, but I really felt like this show. I rewatched this show the first time. I was doing my underappreciated '90s sci-fi video, and I went out and I bought the series so I could watch it. And then I was like, "Oh no, this was not an underappreciated show. This was just terrible." And it's so terrible, and I've already bought these discs. At some point, I need to talk about how terrible it is. um, and I'm sort of was just staggered at how good Babylon 5 was and how bad this show was.
Yeah.
Um, it's really like it really is like the difference between Star Wars and Disney Star Wars. Except that in this case, it was the exact same creation team.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, in rewatching it, because at the time I saw it, when it came out, and by that time was sad to see Babylon 5 go, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. This might be cool. And then Call to Arms was, and then I started watching the series, and I barely remember it, so I had to rewatch things, and I was just, I didn't get into it, but I wasn't thinking about why I didn't get into things back then. Now I think about it, and so, I'll have some things to say, but in determining what happened, one would have to be there or have, watch some interviews about it or something, and then trust what's being said or something like that. But for me, it just felt like it was just, they didn't try that hard. I don't think they
Something like
tried
it,
that
yeah. Before we get too in depth, introductions, because I see a couple of people in the chat that I suspect came over by way of the Wayfarer Project. So I want to do some introductions to make sure that everyone knows who everyone is. Eraser, SuperMod, tell us who you are.
I'm Eraserhead. I mod around, I smoke a lot, and have opinions on sci-fi. That's kind of it.
I love the fact that you say that you mod for people in the same way, other people would say I sleep around.
Yeah, well, maybe not.
All right, the Wayfarer Project. Second time on this show. First time if you don't count my birthday, which was very informal. So welcome to the show.
Well, and I believe you've stopped counting your birthdays like any sane person would.
I wish, but
Yeah,
I wish, but
the number stares
unfortunately,
us down.
my doctor continues to do things like ask me what my birthday is, and
Yeah. Well, if they keep asking, then you need a different doctor because their memory isn't so great. But in any case, I'm here because yeah, you invited me. It seems like we both have shared good memories of Babylon 5. And yeah, I guess it wasn't a surprise to me. I mean, first of all, when you mentioned Crusade, I was like, oh, yeah, that happened. And, um, and yeah, once again, I'm revisiting. Now I guess I can put into words, I guess, a little more clearly what, yeah, why it didn't catch with me. But yeah, that's what happened or didn't happen to begin with, is it didn't catch. I just,
And
I
I
didn't
do
get
believe
into it.
I do believe that you do have a slightly crazy person in your audience who liked this show.
Well, he's a lovable man by day and
I mean,
even more lovable by night. He is the good Sir Knight Archer, who is called Colin. But I think we would need to give him the floor to express himself more, because I don't think he could be just called someone who just really liked it, so to speak. It's probably like, well, I kind of like, and he just didn't get a word in, and so I would give him more time to explain it and stuff. I think there's probably things he liked, and probably maybe for good reason. There's some things I kind of like, but the thing is, I could see too clearly where they missed, and it's like, oh, you don't want to do that. You don't want to ever see someone trying and not succeeding at something they set out to do when you specifically see them really trying hard to do it. Or not
well, I was
trying that hard. I don't know. In that case.
I was going to say I'm delighted to see him in the chat because I'm hoping he can yell at
Oh,
us
no,
and tell us
he's a
where we're
great guy.
wrong. Jacob Ironside.
Yeah, I'm Jacob Ironside, and I host Popcorn Talk on my channel. Old movies,
And
good TV shows.
starting next month, you are covering Babylon 5, correct?
Exactly. Which
So
is,
yeah.
I guess, why we're here.
Oh no,
Kind
we'd
of.
be here. We'd be here anyway. But this is why we chose this time and date and invited you to join us.
Yes, exactly.
um,
Apart from, I would watch an episode and look to see how many more there were. Am I almost done? Is it over yet?
yeah, I got the message today. He's like,
They
I
had
finally
an
got through. I
episode.
finally got through Crusades.
They had an episode. They were in hyperspace, and the giant, what was it, jellyfish, was getting
Yep.
closer to the ship. And I was thinking, they're not going to do that, are they? They're not going to go that low. Yep, they did it. They started
And that's
humping the
like
ship. So
That's like the first or second episode too.
yeah, exactly.
It's episode 3, and the thing that drives me insane is it's not that the jellyfish latches onto the ship and you hear like a mating call. You physically see this jellyfish thrust its hips back and drive into the ship. Like homie was going for it.
Yeah, there is a very rhythmic thumping in the ship, and I'm like, oh, okay. So not only is it mating, but apparently jellyfish have the same rhythm.
Motion of the hyperspace ocean, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's say hello to the chat quickly. Other than just teasing Archer a little bit. We have Legatus. Hello, welcome. And I think Mr. Colin was actually the second person here. Summoned I come.
Well,
Sorry, wrong show.
I got that wrong too to start, and even for a few weeks while he was on the show, his name is Colin.
Yeah.
Archer is just his profession.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Does that mean? Does that mean I can't? Does that mean I can't call him Mr. Colin?
By weekend, and he is a medieval reenactor, and he does like all sorts of archery things, and he does know the Middle Ages quite well.
Does that mean I can't call him Mr. Colin?
Oh yeah, you can. I guess I used to call him Collins, Archer Collins.
I do have to say that the 6 on the end of his name, because my eyes are bad, it keeps trying to turn into an S. So that's
Yeah,
probably what
my eyes are
That's-
bad too.
It's isn't it reference to medieval dates or something? 6339.
Heck if I know.
I don't know. I thought he had said
Matt?
something like that before. I don't know.
Matt Funcool, channel member. Thank you as always for being a member, and good evening to you as well. Rio, doing pretty good. Finally managed to get some sleep now that babies have dropped. Not as much as I would have liked, but we're still running a little short, but doing well. Let's see. And the hamster is here. The hamster can yell at people regardless of a reason. And make puns, which will be, the usual. The Trap Chest is here. Welcome. The Trap Chest was on the show a few weeks ago. And Rachel, who we have been missing lately. Rachel, good to see you. And I think that for the moment is it. I will say hello to people as they kind of bop in. I assume Jack is probably still running his bouncy ball game there. And we must have a bunch of lurkers because there are definitely more numbers than I see in the chat. So welcome to the lurkers, wherever you are. I'm going to go on a limb and just say hello, Ben, because I assume that he's probably lurking. All right. So characters. Let's start with Gideon. Gideon is the captain of the Excalibur. It gets a little confusing. The show is Crusade. The ship is Excalibur. The captain is Gideon.
Moth Gideon.
We missed you too, Rachel. Lurker stayed on Babylon 5. So yeah, Gideon is the captain. He is also, I think, the only person who's actually in every episode. And very much, while Babylon 5 was kind of a group cast, this show very much revolves around him. And we were discussing earlier, he's a little bit of a, he's kind of all over the place.
He's a let me tell you the character that I am sort of guy.
He is, but he's also like, I don't know, like like Eraser was saying earlier, like he's a loser for a while and then they try and make him cool. And the first scene he's like, they try and imitate Sinclair's introduction with him like punching some guy out. And it's like they couldn't quite decide what his character was gonna be. Did anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for anyone that hasn't seen the show, which I hope is everyone else in the audience.
Anyone who doesn't hate yourself.
Yeah. So JMS's original plan for the show was to have the episode that was aired as the 9th episode to be the show's pilot. And the first 8 episodes of the show, you get one side of Gideon, and then episode 9, which was originally the pilot, rolls around, and they try to present him as if he's a completely different character. The first 8 episodes, he's rough around the edges. He's not really good with people. He's not a people person.
He's really not
he's
good.
Terrible with women.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
terrible.
Like they make a point to say.
Yeah.
They have Lockley from Babylon 5 season 5 make a point of saying, you're really terrible with women, so I assume that you never get laid. And he's like, well, yeah. I mean, it's spotty.
Yeah, and then like the situation gets made even worse because she's like, by the way, who's your hero? John Sheridan. Oh, by the way, who's the last guy you were with, Lockley? John Sheridan.
Like, she might have had some in between. You never.
I mean, yeah, but it's that gut punch where like, this is awkward. You were married to my hero.
Well, I think they wanted the back and forth they created between Lockley and Garibaldi and said, okay, you're it. We need to have that because we like her being that fighting type. So
maybe,
except she's terrible. Like, she's there for 3 episodes to like show him up and then be the love interest.
Yeah, she's there solely for the purpose of giving him a love interest and basically pointing out the fact that he's not good with women. But then you get to episode 9 and like his first shot in that episode, he's wearing a leather jacket, he's got shades on, he's like flying on this hover motorcycle space thing with wind blowing in his hair. And they're suddenly trying to frame him as if he is this awesome, cool hotshot. When I just watched for 8 episodes him have the charisma of a moldy piece of bread.
And he's not even a fighter pilot.
Well,
I think Sheridan knew how to fly and the what's his name? The first
Sinclair?
captain, Sinclair. They were both pilots. They knew how to fly a fighter.
Well, this is the other thing. He originally gets this mission, and because he's not at Earth when the original battle starts, so he's not affected by it. And they weren't there because he's basically a science guy. Like he's leading exploration science missions.
An explorer
We
class
never see any sign whatsoever that he's qualified to do that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he's not even up to the level of what was his name, Stinky, Sheridan's buddy that was in an explorer class vessel, and he wasn't all that great either. But I mean, the thing is, right from the beginning, episode 1, all you have to go on is Sheridan's voiceover from the call to arms, and then as soon as you're in episode 1, the vibe's kind of different. It looks like they're trying to figure out what they're going to do when his voiceover indicated that they did at the end of Call to Arms. He said what the mission's going to be. And then here they seem to be kind of figuring it out. And they call this guy in. We need you. You're the kind of guy we need. I don't know. You're the kind of tough kind of cop that gets things done sort of guy, that sort of thing. And his character is literally saying to the guy, I'm going to do things my way. I'm the kind of guy that does this. It's like he's telling the audience what his character is supposed to be at the beginning. And it's like, we're supposed to see that, not be told that.
Well,
and the thing is, we never do see it.
No. And when they try to show it, it's just an argument that he didn't win.
Yeah, well, I think the huge problem with the writing, especially in episode 1, is that every single character suffers from that. Because they're trying to slowly build the crew being formed and, these characters interacting with each other. Unfortunately, you get left with these scenes where it's just a lot of random characters walking into a room, stating their name, stating their purpose, and then being like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm part of the crew. We don't learn anything by seeing them in action. And one of the things that, like I said, episode 9 was originally supposed to be the pilot, and then they made him backtrack. At least in episode 9, we actually learn people's roles on the Excalibur by seeing them work. We see Max, trying to decipher some hieroglyphs. We see Chambers taking samples. If that was the original pilot, it's not the best written thing on the planet, but at least we see everyone's function by watching them actually work. The pilot we're left with, like I said, everyone's just kind of telling us what they do, and nothing's being shown, and every character... It's probably some of the weakest character introductions I've ever seen across the board.
Because that's what they were literally doing, and it felt like it. So obviously, like if you go back to season 1, episode 1, B5, not the pilot, episode 1, there was no break. It was like right from the beginning, action stuff happening, interactions, talking, conversations, and you get to know the people by watching them be themselves.
Right.
I don't know. It felt like JMS wanted Gideon to be this kind of losery type, but then the studio wanted him to be like they wanted him to be Sinclair all over again. They
Yeah.
wanted him getting into fist fights. They wanted a James Kirk captain. So they wanted him to slot in these fist fights. They wanted a different pilot, though I don't know. I think he looks cooler in the first pilot, the original pilot.
Oh, absolutely.
It's yeah, it's just I don't know. They wanted him to be Sinclair, but they wanted him to be a geek at the same time. To probably because like, oh, well, he's supposed to be a science guy, and we're never going to show him being a science guy, but we'll show him being a geek instead, and that's close enough. He kind of looks like Sinclair,
And
which
then
doesn't help the
and then they
hamster.
give him a bellhop outfit.
Well,
Oh,
I mean
dude,
that's not until fairly late in the.
Well, that happens in episode 8. Like they lead
Yeah.
into the new uniforms for episode 9, which was supposed to be the pilot, as if it's almost as if like this is where I wanted to start the show, and
Yeah.
we're gonna show you that via the uniform change.
I thought that was a 70s thing. Why were they doing that? This whole randomize the broadcast order thing.
They okay. So originally, Call to Arms was going to be the pilot in the same way that The Gathering was the pilot for Babylon 5.
Yeah.
But ratings were so low for it that they said, no, you've got to make another episode and cram in all of the information that was in the 90-minute pilot, because otherwise people aren't going to know what's going on.
Oh.
Now, what I don't understand is why did JMS take his pilot and move it to the 8th episode instead of just
That's
making
what I
it
mean.
the
That
second one?
seems like an odd placement for.
Oh, and that's part of the problem with the show is that it feels like it doesn't even start to become itself until episode 9, and you're just waiting for 8 episodes. I get that the studio didn't want it to be the pilot, but then make it like episode 3, not 9, man. Like you waited way too long, and it suffers. And then, like I was saying, a lot of like Gideon's character seems to just completely change. Like from episode 9 on, they try to give him like that hot shot attitude. It doesn't work at all. It doesn't gel with anything we've seen prior in the show. And to me, man, one of the biggest problems with Gideon is that Gary Cole's performance is dry. It's really just disinteresting. I can't pretend to care. He doesn't even look interested half the time.
Yeah. That's where I
yeah.
think I was reading some of the lack of effort thing I was getting before. No one seemed passionate about what they were doing. I mean, now I'm going to get the character's name wrong, but Thief Girl, is it like Doreen or
Dorina.
It's Dorina, yeah.
Yeah, like in Call to Arms, it's like you could see, okay, I see what they're going for here. And actually, by the time I'm going through Crusade, she became one of my more favorite ones. It's like, wait a minute, I didn't know that she would be the best, or
I
almost
don't
best
think she
of
is.
the lot.
I think she's awful.
Well,
but we
I
can-
mean,
but we
I'm
can-
just saying in comparison.
She also
know,
forgets to put lotion on her forehead and starts to crack every few episodes.
Yeah, the fact that she's even supposed to be,
She
fact that
doesn't
she's-
seem like a thief.
well, she's supposed to be an alien,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's nothing alien about her at all. But
Right.
anyway, we'll get to her.
But
Yeah, so the choice to mix up, okay, I get that they told him he needed to do another pilot, but the choice to then mix up the episodes the way they did doesn't make any sense. And Gideon going from I'm a tough guy, I'm going to do things my way, I'm going to get into a fist fight to like, stop a mutiny on my ship, to now I'm a complete geek and terrible with women, back to leather jacket, motorcycle, I'm cool.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like I don't know. Maybe the character The thing is, the character's so inconsistent that as much as I'm like criticizing Gary Cole, I don't think anyone could have really fixed it. Like maybe someone could have given a more enthusiastic performance, but like I said, the character writing is so inconsistent that I don't think anything would have saved it. And I'm almost curious because JMS has kind of famously said that TNT sabotaged the show. But
He seems
Gary,
to say that about everything that doesn't
yeah,
do
yeah.
good in
Don't get me
ratings,
wrong.
though.
The dude always kind of has excuses, so it could be like a boy who cried wolf situation. But I was looking into it a bit, and Gary Cole himself also did kind of back that up by saying that there was a lot of studio interference. It was really getting in the way of making the show, it kind of made things miserable. So I'm almost curious if like he just stopped caring, if like part of the studio interference just made him go fuck it, and that's why he's so just dry in this role.
Well, that's a sign of bad directing, too, though. I mean,
Yeah,
none of the.
it is, but I would also it is, and I agree with you. But most of the episodes of Crusade are directed by, I believe the guy's name is Michael Vihar, who directed In the Beginning and most of Babylon 5 episodes. So like this guy's directed great episodes for B5. He directed In the Beginning, which I think is the best B5 movie. So
I'm sorry, who directed?
I believe his name is Michael Vihar, Vejar.
So
Yeah.
so I will say I think the episodes that he directed are probably the better ones or the least bad ones in this.
That's fair.
Some of their choices of directors is kind of interesting, though.
Oh yeah, dude, Veer directs a couple episodes.
Yeah, he
Even
did.
first.
The one that entertained me, let's see if I can find it again. Tony Dow, who before directing this, his entire notoriety is that he played Wally Cleaver in Leave It to Beaver.
Nice.
I'm like, why did you choose these people? I don't think Veer, I think went on to direct a bunch of stuff, but at the time, I don't think Stephen Furst had directed anything.
This might have been his start, and we're not focusing on directing now, but I'd actually argue some of the things he was doing in those episodes, I actually quite liked. But anyway, back to acting.
I think he
Yeah.
actually did something. I remember he did something before that with Elliot Gould. It was some hospital-based sitcom sort of thing. And I think in the credits I saw that he had done, I don't know if it was director, but he had done some things behind the scenes in addition to being, one of the characters on the show. So I think he has the little chops, or at least he's been around people doing it a lot. That Stephen Furst is, knowledgeable about the art of show making in general.
Yeah. I would start off by saying, though, that as far as, Gary Cole was the name people recognized, and I think Hello, Rick. Rick says, "What is it you say you do here, Gary?"
And it's weird, man, because I do like Gary Cole as an actor. I've seen him in other roles, and he's not bad by any means. He's just terrible in this one specific role, and it's sad to see.
I think, though, that the decision to make him the central character instead of having it be a group cast the way they did with Babylon 5 was so different and was done so poorly that I think that might be the first step they took off the cliff right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, quite possibly. And I know that Gary Cole wasn't their first choice, but it seems like they just went like, yeah, whatever. Fucking the guy in catering, he's Gideon. Just he's not my first choice, so I don't care who it is. And I don't know, it really suffers, man, because it's like I'm not exaggerating. It's one of the most boring performances I've seen in all of sci-fi.
I didn't know that. Who is their first choice?
So sticking with like the Arthurian legend type of vibe, he wanted a British actor to kind of fit with, the Excalibur, King Arthur, and
Hmm.
it was the guy from I believe it was Michael York.
Oh yeah.
So like
That would have been hard because he was in one of the B5 episodes. Oh, but they could have brought the character in, saying, "Okay, he's come back from Narn," because he went to Narn to help the Narns kind of like recover dignity and stuff like that
Yeah.
in their
yeah.
oppression.
Hmm.
And then, so yeah, it would have kind of like story wise, it could have worked.
I
Yeah,
just I just
I
think
mean,
like
he definitely wasn't on Earth, so
he
yeah,
wasn't on Earth, and also like just in terms of like sci-fi legacy, I mean, the dude was in Logan's Run.
yeah,
You
right,
know what I
right.
mean? Like he's a name within sci-fi, kind of the way like Box Lightner was in Tron. So bringing
And I
him
don't
into
think he
Babylon
ever
5
phoned
worked.
it in. Yeah, he was
Yeah, I mean,
good.
it is one of those studio interference things that JMS claimed because he claims that Michael York was completely willing to do the role, but that the studio came in and said, "We don't want you to have a British captain because Star Trek has a British captain with Picard," which makes no sense to me,
He's
but it's
French.
yeah, but explain that to a TV exec.
Well, yeah, it's
well,
one of those things where it could be true, and who knows?
can you imagine if they'd said we don't want you to have a black captain because DS9 has one of those? Like, it's just such dumb logic when you like
Oh no, it
put it
is.
put it in any other context.
Well, it's even more ridiculous because it's not like at that point Next Gen was a new show. We're talking about 99. Next
Yeah,
Gen was done
yeah.
and over with. They were in the middle of doing some shitty movies at that time. So it's not like it was a fresh, like we're stealing from this bigger thing that's, a little more known. Like it's just a stupid thing to say no to, especially with Michael York willing to do the role.
Well, pardon me, and it's not like they were doing a Picard style captain either. I mean, he
No.
already he already had a presence on the ship. Um, the people already knew him. It would be interesting to see what he was like having snapped out of his King Arthur delusion.
Oh, I don't know if it was a delusion.
They could have gotten Sam Neill to do Galen.
Sorry, we did that for 6 weeks, so we had to, got to work that in there. A little
Yeah,
bit
I
of
don't know. It's
Merlin.
just thank you very much, DJ Play Nice.
Howdy,
Memberships are
DJ.
also open if anybody's feeling generous and wants to see. I have so many very cute baby goat videos that are available for members only, and I'm very sad that very few people are getting to see them. But yeah, I do have to say too. Can you imagine being Gary Cole and walking into a role with everyone going, "Yeah, you weren't our first choice."
Oh, I'm sure it happens to people all the
Oh
time.
yeah, it happens all the
But
time. It's
as a
just,
lead, yeah, still, yeah, it does. No,
I
you
mean,
just have to be confident in yourself, and no matter what's going on with studio and stuff, you got to think of every role you play as just another audition for your next role. So you never should phone it in. And it felt like he kind of did, unless it was just so irritating working with the director he had that he just couldn't. I
Yeah.
don't know.
How about instead of killing off Tony Todd in the movie, him be the captain?
I would have
Yeah.
loved that. Dude, not for nothing. Just to get into a call to arms really quickly. Tony Todd gives it his absolute all,
does.
Oh, yeah.
but JMS gave him some of the worst dialogue I have ever heard in my life. Those are either Drock ships or the weirdest looking pizza delivery trucks I've ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
I had to pause the movie look at my father, who I was watching it with, and go, did they actually just make Tony Todd say that? Like,
Well, it doesn't matter who. It's like it's the 23rd century.
no, but dude, like I love Tony Todd. I think he's ridiculously underappreciated. He's in more sci-fi stuff than people realize.
Oh yeah.
And that's the dialogue you give him, and then at the end of the movie, they basically give him a line out of Spaceballs, ramming speed. It's so
Oh
stupid.
no, yeah, you don't say ramming speed
But then-
again ever because you did it once so effectively in Babylon 5. You don't do it again.
But the problem is, not only do they do it with Tony Todd in A Call to Arms, they have Gideon do it in one of the last
yeah.
episodes of the show. He says ramming speed, and it just, dude, it sounds like a lot. Like you said, it worked in B5 for that one moment, but
Yeah.
in A Call to Arms and Crusade, it feels like a line out of Spaceballs.
It's just
They left out "give me."
it's just the same thing with them, attempting to like add in. All I could think of was like Alien, when they did Alien Romulus, and they just added in lines that were known for being really cool, except
Yeah,
now they're really out of place and they don't make any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no tone. Jake Sisko, the best Jake Sisko.
And then there's Galen, who initially, the first time I watched this, I was like, oh, he's like the only saving grace to this show. And then I
Yeah.
rewatched it, and I went, oh, no.
Yeah,
He
I see what you
ruins-
mean.
Go
He
back to the
ruins-
History Channel, please.
He ruins Technomages completely from what we've seen on Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a whiny baby.
Oh, he is, and
Like,
don't get me
melodramatic and mood lighting and...
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, dude. I think Woodward's performance is phenomenal. Like, none of my criticisms with Galen are the actor or the performance. He gets very whiny after a while, and I feel like with the whole Technomage thing, JMS kind of took inspiration from like Tolkien's wizards. Like, even in the episode of Babylon 5 where the Technomages are introduced, he takes lines about wizards directly from the Fellowship and tweaks like one word and uses lines straight from Tolkien.
Yeah.
The problem with Galen in this show, I feel like, is that at times he treats him like Gandalf from The Hobbit, because Gandalf in The Hobbit has a tendency to kind of show up when the dwarves need his help.
Yeah.
He gets them to a certain point, and then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm going to go fuck off for X amount of time, and I'm going to be back right when you need me.
Yeah.
And it works for The Hobbit. It works for a children's story. It works for Gandalf, but it starts to just feel awfully convenient after like
Gandalf-
episode 4.
Do
Gandalf
not try
generally,
the patience of wizards, for they are
Gandalf
quick to
generally-
anger.
Yes, that's the line from Fellowship.
Almost, yeah.
Gandalf generally has reasons, though. He is like one of like 5 wizards in the entire planet, whereas there are a whole lot of Technomages.
Yeah, far away, really far away.
Well, but here's my first issue with Galen. In Babylon 5, Galen is basically supposed to be Kosh. With his mysterious things that don't actually mean anything.
Knowing
sound
more than
cool.
everybody else and not telling.
Right. But Kosh holds back about the shadows because we are trying to set up for a war that is going to take place a year or 2 from now, and they can't know that we know that this is going to happen. Galen, on the other hand, starts out in A Call to Arms with, I'm going to give you hints about this thing that's going to happen, but I can't just come out and tell you what's going to happen because they might figure out that we know, oh, and by the way, this is happening tomorrow.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but at least he was better at being a mysterious character at a distance for that time. I had forgotten when I rewatched things. I didn't realize how closely they had him. He was just like, yeah, just it might as well have been just he was a regular, and it doesn't work as well that way.
He is he is, I think, where the messing up of the order is the worst, because he has one episode where he, at the very end of the episode, he says, "I'm leaving now. I want to know if I should bother to come back." Except then the next episode he's still there,
Yeah.
and it's the episode after that he ends up leaving, and then he's just not there at all for like the whole end of the show.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm here, saved you."
Yeah, he basically shows back up in episode 9 to save Gideon, because Gideon makes like some comment about like, oh, like he always shows up eventually, and then Galen shows back up, saves him, and then like gives him shit for talking shit about him, basically.
Oh, that, by the way, is the other area where they tried to make Gideon into Sinclair. The whole, broken ship
Yeah.
in the middle of space with nobody else around. Picked up by the super tech.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me that Michael O'Hare was suffering a lot during season 1 of Babylon 5 and getting through filming. And he still gives a far greater performance than Gary Cole does. And obviously the writing's a lot better. That helps out tremendously. But, within like 10 minutes of screen time, you respect Sinclair. You get a sense of who he is almost immediately. And that, he has command of Babylon 5. Like, he is meant to be there. He fits well. Where, I don't know, man, Gideon just, we zoom in on him and he's almost lost control of his ship, and it's just sad.
I mean, honestly, that's the only reason I could see for making him a geek later, in that he doesn't have control over that crew. And his first in command is really the only person who respects him at all.
Yeah. Well, I think they didn't know what kind of captain they wanted him to be. Or maybe I shouldn't say kind of captain. Maybe kind of character in a way, because they didn't know what they wanted his personality really to be. I know, at least from episode 1, what it was supposed to be, and then it just seemed to be trying things out.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe they were trying things out, or they felt we need to shift it this way, or they were experimenting. I don't know which, but it was not decisive.
Galen frustrated me because, and I was talking with Eraser about this, they could have made him good without totally wrecking our impression of technomages like they did. All they had to do was make him broken. Like, blatantly broken. Like, instead of him having been cast out because how dare you help someone, if they cast him out because your wife died and now you've gone kind of crazy and you're dangerous, go get some therapy. Because everything that he does during the show is like twisted by this, like, oh, my lost love. And he has no self-control. His emotions are all over the place.
Yeah.
And if you just leaned into that and said, yeah, that's why he was tossed out, was because he couldn't hack it.
Yeah, like Q in the Continuum. Could have been kicked out for a while.
Yeah, like you wouldn't have even had to change. You wouldn't have even had to change anything.
With Mjolnir.
You wouldn't have to even change anything. Just the presentation of like, or even like, he says, "Oh, I was kicked out because I helped humans," and then they find out like, well, no, actually, I was kicked out because
I was experimenting on humans. No,
they felt I wasn't really very stable.
They found me talking to skulls too many times.
But I'll show them all.
Well, not only that, but if you run with what you're saying, Goat, where he kind of gets kicked out of the order for being unstable, we see that when his wife dies, he kind of adopts this, like, her death is almost proof that there is no God, there's no order to the universe. Like, he can't accept the fact that, there would be a God out there that would take his love away from him and make him suffer like that. And if you were to plug that into, say, a call to arms, it actually, I feel like, would have made more sense, because it's more of a, I'm helping the humans because I don't think there is a God. Like, no one else, there's no grand design that's going to save you, so I'm going to do it myself. I feel like that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Or if they had emphasized that a bit, you know what I mean? Because it's no one else is going to save you, so I'm going to have to be the one to do it.
Yeah, he was threatening their position because he's getting too involved, but you need to give him a personality issue too in order for that to really stick and explain the way he is, when he is there every episode just about.
Well, but the other thing is that he says, I can't believe in a higher power that would allow the way you put it, Eraser, was wouldn't allow me to suffer this much. That's the thing, is that everything about his loss of her isn't about the fact that she died, apparently in pain. It's about the harm it caused him. Which is why I said, if they just leaned into this idea that, like, yeah, he's actually kind of fucked in the head. That he puts on this persona of, I help humans and, I'm the good guy. But in fact, everything is really about he wants revenge on, God, and he wants, I don't know. It's just, they could have taken everything they did with this character and made it feel more real. And he could have had an amazing redemption arc.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, that would have given him, instead of just bopping in and out like this, like, weird, blank, two-dimensional character, like, he could have had, a Garibaldi-esque,
Yeah.
redemption arc going.
You didn't know how to feel about him. It's really...
I mean, I'm okay with not
felt.
knowing how to feel about him. I mean, when Garibaldi starts drinking again in Babylon 5, I didn't know how to feel about him.
Yeah, but here it's more of like you don't really know what he is.
Well, the thing is too is that in some of the episodes, like you were saying, they kind of give him, he's almost like the equivalent of Kosh, or even like early season 1 Delenn, where she's helping out, but she's got her own agenda, and you don't know how much you should be trusting her. Like, she certainly knows more than she's letting on. If you lean into the whole, like, I'm going to help the humans because there is no God, so someone has to do it, you could also kind of bleed that into something where it's almost like an ego thing. Like, the other crew members start to question and be like, is he helping because it's the right thing to do? Is he helping because there, is no God? Or is he now kind of playing God or thinking he's God, or something like that? I think would have been far more interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll ring on your doorbell and show up in a random episode.
Yeah,
See
but
you
it's
soon.
still better. You create that effect better when he's not there just having conversations with you all the time.
yeah, I have to say, the fact that they kept giving Gideon these really stupid lines just so that Galen could then deliver some mysterious and/or snappy comeback. Like, that's half the reason that Gideon seems like a geek, is because they're using him to set up lines for Galen to seem cool.
Who do you serve? Who do you trust? I don't
Oh
know.
God, that is the worst.
Okay,
Oh,
I'll
Yeah.
join
it's
you.
So bad.
I have
I hate
I have a whole thing when we get to talking about that intro.
Oh, and
But I mean, yeah.
actually, going back to to Gideon really quick, because I was wondering if you guys felt the same about this. They introduced the fact that he has quite literally a mystery box that he
Yeah.
gets in episode 4, and then we don't see it used again until episode 9. And if you wanted to kind of play into this thing with Gideon where he's not a people person, he's not great at communicating, and stuff like that, I feel like you almost could have attributed some of that to the mystery box that's speaking to him. You know what I mean? Like, he's not listening to other crew members, he's only taking counsel from the alien mystery box, or like he's shutting other people out and only focusing on what that box is telling him, and that plays into him not. It's almost like the box itself is warping him. Like, he's not good with people, it's taking him away from people. So that,
Well,
say
yes.
if my bad, just 1 second, if
Mhm.
at any point, say, like, the box became an issue or was dealt with or removed, then maybe he could have became a bit more personable or a bit
Well,
cooler, like we see him at a certain point. I feel like they had something there they could have explored, and it just doesn't really.
Yeah,
It's
it
literally
could
just
have.
a mystery box.
if they'd
It
started
could
off
have
with
been used for its own. The box used to make him rise to the occasion, make him have his own story arc,
well, they
and maybe wrap Gideon or the what's his name, Techno Mage guy in Galen
Galen.
in with it somehow.
if they had started out with the original order so that he's cooler in the beginning and then gets more withdrawn, that would make sense. Do you guys know how that was supposed to end, by the way?
No.
How
Gideon
what was
w-
supposed to end? I'm sorry.
Gideon was supposed to die and become trapped in the box.
Fuck out of here.
Oh, you mean like River of Souls? You know, the soul hunters keeping souls in a, well,
Well,
a
basically, the idea
sphere.
is he sells it. He's basically sold his soul to the box, and when he dies, he becomes trapped in the box for eternity, kind of thing.
Oh boy.
I mean,
Anyway,
hey,
back to Galen and the techno mages. The techno mages, when we see them in Babylon 5, are so cool. And
Yeah.
Galen initially seems cool, and then it's like he's cosplaying cool. Like, his ship is always, shrouded in darkness, and he always has, cool music in the background, and he's always
Yeah.
speaking in these cryptic phrases.
He always
And-
has something that they find out they need at the last minute.
Right, but he's also like, the minute something doesn't go the way he thinks it should, he's like, he's baby. Like that thing that offers forgiveness, and he's like, no, I don't want I don't need to be forgiven by you. I'm gonna kill you. It's like he's cosplaying the cool wizard. And then we see the other techno mage that's on the planet, and he's also kind of a doofus that's like, oh, but I do so love dragons. Which is why I keep saying, like, if they got kicked out because they just weren't stable enough to be techno mages.
well, I think the almost like childish comedic approach to A, the techno mages, and B, the show in general, really just, I feel like it does a lot of damage because, like you were saying, the techno mages in Babylon 5, when they're introduced, they, like, JMS goes out of his way to make sure that they're taken as serious as a heart attack. You have Michael Ansara be the guy who, is representing this new race, this new order into your world. And like I said, they try really hard to make them seem serious and like an actual presence in the world. So much so that the B plot in that episode is like childish. Isn't that the green purple episode? I
Oh,
believe.
it's beautiful.
No, but my point is, it's that B plot is more like fun and kind of goofy, so that when you go back to the techno mages, it almost like reinforces how serious they are by contrast.
Green and purple is not goofy, man. You know, you try and be spaced because you're purple. I'm just kidding, whatever. But I loved that episode anyway.
Oh, no, I love it.
For me, the thing is the techno mages are distant, and Galen started off distant, and then they made him like, I don't know, just too regular for me, because it's like it worked better when he was techno mage, even if his order and him don't see things eye to eye, and he's kind of like an outcast, kind of. He's still a techno mage. He shouldn't be just you shouldn't be able to walk down to his dorm room anytime you want to and get advice.
Oh, by the way, really quick, Colin, I believe it's Colin in the chat. He points out that the Order kicks Galen out, but he gets to keep all of his technology and his staff and all, like...
Yeah, they should have Thored him. You know,
I don't know, like...
Take his powers away or something. Take his goodies away.
That happens with the dude that's got a freaking dragon on his planet, too, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, just the way it's handled, it's like I just felt you can't really have a techno mage as a regular on the show and have them still feel like a techno mage, unless he's an outcast that has his toys taken away. Then it might work.
Yeah.
Or just like you said, just broken in some way. He's broken too, you know, and that we're not really trying to do real techno mage here, you know.
Yeah, I mean, or even reduce his capabilities, like leave him his staff, but his abilities are like hugely reduced. He doesn't have a cool ship that just zips here and there. He doesn't
have these higher technologies that they need in the last minute. You know, he has to figure it out a different way.
Yeah, like maybe he's got some tricks up his sleeve, but you know, that he's been able to kind of put together. And maybe they left him his staff. But, you know, lots of like, you know, if I, you know, only had my, you know, if I only had all my gadgets, I could do X. But yeah, I mean, like the Thor idea, you know, now he's got a lot less abilities and...
Yeah, and he's got to earn it back.
Yep.
But it could be still done somewhat his way by, you know, succeeding on this quest, which never, you know, is allowed to complete anyway. But, you know,
or like even taking, like I said, you know, he JMS takes inspiration from Tolkien here. It even would have checked out in that regard, because, you know, when the wizards, the Astari, come to Middle Earth, they have to lessen their power. They don't have as much power as they did when they were Maya in Valinor. So, like, there is a lessening of power of technology. Well, not technology in Tolkien's case, but what they're able to do. I feel like Galen is just, like you guys are saying, he's a character without limitations at times. And that's kind of boring.
And techno mage just became straight up magic at several points. It wasn't technology based magic. You know, the idea started out with like, we can each do different things because we each have these ideas about, you know, the things that we've worked on. You know, we each have our own little areas of research, but it simply makes no sense to have someone that is that dedicated to research and building and engineering and technology and have them be an emotional wreck.
Mm.
I mean, yes, even in Tolkien, yes, Gandalf has his, you know, moments of temper flare, but on average, he's pretty good at compartmentalizing. He's pretty stoic. He's pretty...
Well, he's a Maiar, and so, I mean, he's got beyond world understanding and stuff. Yeah, I think they may be thinking of, you know, Galen being kind of a wizardy character, because he is a techno mage and all that, but I don't think he ever could have played the role of like a Gandalf kind of figure. The reason why you could do that with Kosh is because he was not appearing as much and not speaking as much, not as talky.
Yeah, I mean,
You could get
Kosh,
wisdom.
Kosh, Kosh is in more episodes than Galen is. I mean, we tend to there are people who joke about this being the Galen show, but he's in less than half the episodes.
I don't know. I guess at
He
least for
just
me,
he
in
just has
rewatching, and I haven't gotten through all of them yet. He seemed a little frequent, or if it's not frequency, he's just too conversational.
they're all clustered at the beginning. It's like the Lockley episodes are all clustered at the end, and the Galen episodes are all clustered at the beginning. They should have been spread out more, like definitely.
Yeah, because I was getting the feeling that he's just going to be a regular member of the cast because I haven't gotten all the way through the run yet in my rewatch, and I don't think I went through all of them in the first place. I think I gave up before that. But yeah, so I was getting the impression that he's really regular part of the show, and maybe you could have him be regular, but just not just having his extended conversations where, you know, you shouldn't be sitting down with him, just chatting with him like that.
Yeah,
Or he's an outcast, pure and simple, sure, complete outcast, and he's stuck on their ship. You know, he's got to have that. He can't have his own kind of like sanctuary and all that kind of stuff. He's got to be a true outcast.
Yeah, I think people refer to it as the Galen show simply because I at the end of the day, I do think his acting performance is probably the best in the show. The character's got issues, but Woodward absolutely kills it. Like, the writing might not be great, but anytime he's on screen, like, you are drawn to him. I don't know, man. Like, if he had better writing, I think between, if there was good writing and Woodward's performance, we could have walked away from this going, Galen is one of the most awesome characters ever. But
yeah, and it's also
the
tough
writing
too.
didn't back it up.
But it's also
Coulda,
tough
shoulda,
too
woulda.
because it's like, what do you have to compare it to? Like, we may be pouncing on Galen right now, but it's like bring up just about every other character, and you're gonna get
you get similar problems.
Treatment.
Yeah.
Eraser is going to get great pleasure out of this. Not only is Matheson never formed as a character, I had an incredibly difficult time finding a picture of just him.
Oh, man.
He's
you could have just pulled up a random picture of Daniel Day Kim. It would have been okay.
Yeah.
He is in the background of a couple of pictures. This is the only picture I could find that was like just him doing a cast shot.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be the second in command. Like, you would think that he would be, important.
It's actually sad because I not that I think he's giving like the greatest performance of all time or anything, but I do think Daniel Day Kim actually does kind of feel right for the role. Like, I don't think he's bad casting. It's just that the character he's hardly a character.
Well, that's the issue with all of them. I don't think any of them were horribly cast. They just didn't do anything.
I do think Gary Cole was horribly cast.
Especially Gideon putting his foot down saying, I need my first officer. Then you need to follow it up with the...
Yeah, he needs to be important if he's that important.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems with Matheson is that, being a telepath, he's clearly created to kind of be like a vehicle to explore the end of the telepath war and what happened with that whole thing and what happened after all of that. But none of that really ever gets explored, so that sucks. But they also don't really give us enough to turn him into a real character. So, like, he's not really developed enough as a character, and his purpose, or like the reason he was created was to explore a thing that just didn't really get explored. And it's with what we're left with, there's really not much to say about him.
I felt like they treated him like the ship AI. He's just there.
Mm-hmm.
not really doing much. It's just he's just there in the background.
The
Yeah,
thing
well,
go ahead.
Who's
I was gonna say I feel like one of the biggest mistakes with this show is that Gideon and Matheson are pretty different in approach, but I feel like at no point does the show use that to create either drama or tension, or even in a beneficial way be like, hey, they operate differently, but it somehow works. Matheson is this very like by the book type of guy, and Gideon is more like, I'll do it my way and I'll get it done and I'll do it how I want. And like I said, you don't really see them kind of blend and work together, but you also don't see it kind of create any tension between the two of them. It's just the plot just happens regardless of how things should be going based on how the characters somewhat have been portrayed.
yeah, some lines back and forth, but not the interaction.
Like I think I was talking with Goat about this briefly, but in episode 3 where you have like the telepath internal affairs Mr. Smith guy, Matheson starts the episode by saying like, listen, I got to do this by the book. I got to do everything he says. Basically one of those just like comply, get it over with type of attitudes. Do everything by the book. And then Gideon and Dorina Nafil take it upon themselves to basically screw Mr. Smith over, catch him in like some entrapment scheme. And at the end of the episode, we see Matheson walk into his quarters, and there's a note saying, I took care of it, from Gideon. And
With no other explanation.
No explanation or elaboration. I took care of it could have meant I put 2 behind his ear and then threw him out the airlock. Like, this is Matheson's all about, let me do everything by the book, and then doesn't even question what Gideon did to, solve the problem. I don't know, it felt kind of weird to me that the whole episode, do it by the book, and then it's just like, I don't care how it got settled, he's gone. Cool. On to the next shitty episode.
I honestly, if Matheson had, looked at Gideon someday and said, yes, dear, it wouldn't have surprised me all that much. He's so, it's not just that he's by the book, he's so passive.
Yeah, and that encounter with the guy that scanned him in episode 2, it's like you would think he just seemed to complain about it. I don't know. I thought he would have. I mean, you're a telepath too. I mean, are you going to fight for yourself at all? Are you going to use your abilities to deal with this guy that's scanning you? I don't know.
I don't think he can. I think the whole point is they have stronger telepaths.
They never really used his ability at all.
Well, they use it in one episode where there's a hostage and he uses his power of like image projection or something like that to make the guy think there's a snake on his arm, and then he drops his gun and they save the hostage. But to be fair, I don't mind him not using his powers as much, because the whole point is that, like, after the fallout of like the telepath war and everything with the Psi Corps, telepaths aren't well liked. They're almost, treated unfairly and discriminated against. So I do understand like the lack of him using his powers, or like him being apprehensive of doing so. But
I mean, in a situation like that, it's like somebody's like totally bending you over and putting something in your rear there. You gotta, and he just seemed like he was. I mean, it didn't even seem like he was. He was just kind of bothered, but not in a way that you would really feel violated. You know what I mean? And whether he acted back or had the power to, he should have seemed more upset, more bothered. I think that just goes into character.
And why have a telepath there at all if the whole thing is going to be I'm trying not to be a telepath.
Yeah.
Well, because like I said, I think the thing was to use him to explore more of like a lore sense of like what happened afterwards and more of the fallout than his actual powers. And if they had actually done that and we had learned more about what actually happened, I mean, I was reading something where, this show gets cut after 13 episodes. Apparently, they had set for Bester to show up in episode 15. So I do think it eventually or possibly would have been explored a bit more. It's just show wasn't very good and we never got to that point, unfortunately.
There were so many areas that Bester was supposed to do stuff and then got cut. The Telepath War was supposed to take place during the regular series, which is why you have Bester becoming this surprise ally, and then he kind of never does anything.
Yeah, he does nothing.
It's because they ended up cutting that entire section because of the whole, are we going to have a season 5 or not?
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of that with season 4 with certain characters. I was watching an interview with oh god, I can't think of the actor's name. The guy that plays Lanier, Bill
Mumy.
There we go. Thank you. Where he was
Danger Will Robinson.
Yes. Where he was basically kind of saying the same thing about his character. He felt like his character had an arc where he progressed to a certain point, and then because of other things kind of getting combined and rushed to, because of the uncertainty of season 5, he felt like his character just reached a certain point and then just ceased to do anything or be of any use. Like, you got to the top of the mountain and now you're, obsolete. We're moving on from your character. And it is what it is, man.
He did get to have that whole betrayal arc. I don't know. I have to say, Matheson is the only person. They so obviously wanted each of these characters to be a callback to somebody that we liked from the original show. Matheson is the only one I can't figure out, except that he seems to be the anti-Bester. But he's the only one that doesn't seem to have, or at least that I couldn't figure out a comparison for.
Yeah, not Atalia at all. She was corporate and everything like that. Resident telepath. Here's a crew member, and he's a first officer, not like Ivanova.
Yeah, well,
no,
he's nothing like Ivanova.
He was like some of the first officers we saw on visiting ships. Like, who was it? I keep calling him Stinky, but Jack Maynard, his first officer. Just a guy who's there.
Yeah, which is not. I mean, look at every other sci-fi show. Like, the first officer is vitally important to pretty much every science fiction show ever made. And the contrast between them and the captain is always really important.
Yeah, except in this show. But
well, I was gonna say, but they totally wrecked that.
But I think the reason there's not as clear of an equivalent to a B5 character is because I think JMS simply just he wanted a telepath. I was watching the making of Crusade and Goat. I think you're either gonna love this or hate this, but JMS said with all of the different characters, he got the inspiration from kind of role-playing games. How, you have the one thief and the one mage and this guy's a telepath. He said that he was inspired with, the whole ragtag crew from D&D role-playing games.
I mean, to be fair, there's a reason I don't like those kinds of role-playing games.
Yeah, it checks out. At least you're consistent.
There's a reason I stopped playing D&D a very, very long time ago. And it's partially because of that. Because when you have that one person, it feels like cosplay. So that actually makes total sense, since what I was saying earlier was it feels like so many of these people are just play acting it. whatever their role is. Um, is there much else to say about Matheson other than, yep, he's there?
Not really.
No,
Like I
not
said,
really.
I will say again, I think Daniel Day Kim gives a pretty decent performance. It's not really anything against him. It's just, yeah, he's a cardboard cutout of a character.
All right. Well, while we're dealing with people who, yep, they are there. Ooh,
It's
that's a terrible picture. Let's at least find a good picture of her.
it's funny, man. It's like,
Doctor Chambers.
oh great, even less of a character.
Exactly.
It's sad, but I feel like as we keep going, there's just going to be less and less to say about these guys because
Well,
there's
no,
nothing.
I am intentionally like skipping a couple of the ones that have at least somewhat of an arc, so that we're not ending on a whole lot of, yep, they were there. Figure we'll just zip through these yep, they're there people. I am entertained by the fact that even after I drop screens, I'm having to stop the share because otherwise the screen is still there. Chambers, the most direct one-to-one with Babylon 5. She is definitely Franklin.
The female Franklin.
Same. Yeah, she's.
By the
same,
way, that's a picture of her from the movie, where she plays a completely different character.
Yep.
Fascinating because she's still wearing a uniform. So, once again, it's hard to find a picture of her.
Yeah, she's a helmsman, I believe, in A Call to Arms, and then they just were like, they basically did the same thing with Ed Wasser in
They're like, we need a doctor, so you're promoted.
In Babylon, yeah.
So she has the same temperament, she has the same attitude, she's the same skin color, she does the same job. Like, I kind of don't know why they didn't just have Franklin.
Well, and then in the final or like second to last episode,
something fell down there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's some cats doing some weird shit in my yard. Sorry.
That's cool.
I mean, that's cats for you.
Yeah.
We love kitties.
What was I saying?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
So
were about
in
to
the
say
last
how
or second to
intriguing
last
she is as
episode,
a character.
they basically like almost kind of set up like a love interest between her and Franklin, where at the end of the episode he's talking to her and he's like, yeah, we're gonna have to study these notes more and be in touch, and it's so cheesy.
The thing is that Franklin should not have been on Earth at all. So there's no reason. It would have made far more sense for him to be the doctor on this mission, considering his background.
Unless he was visiting his family and just got caught there.
Except he's not. He's in a call to arms. We know he's not on Earth. If you understand Richard Biggs' addiction to coke, you'd know why they didn't use him.
Oh.
Huh. Well, that would explain why some people thought he was an asshole and some people thought he was great when they met him in real life. I had not heard that, but yeah, I mean, they so tried to make her just a cookie cut out of him.
But was he like what he did in the show, Babylon 5 itself? Yeah, he's the character that we feel like, okay, we could kind of riff on him a bit. He's an annoying character, but he's like our kind of annoying. We accept him. He's in the, he's part of the crew and he has some great moments and stuff. But did they feel like we need to do this again? We need to have the same type of doctor role.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't know how you guys feel about it. And it's not that I don't like Dr. Franklin. I just feel like for Babylon 5, in a show of great characters, he's kind of he's an okay character. Like I feel like he's one of the weaker.
I actively dislike him, so.
I don't I don't hate him. I do think that like they use the character as a vehicle to explore like some decent themes here and there, or some things that I'm like, okay, I like what they're doing. I just think that he's one of the more boring characters on B5. And then you look at Chambers and you're like, holy shit, does Dr. Franklin have personality?
Well, I mean, the thing is that I don't like the character, but I kind of thought that was the point. Like, he does an excellent job of portraying the fact that doctors, especially surgeons, tend to be kind of egotistical and arrogant. Um, and I thought he portrayed that quite well.
Oh
But
yeah.
she is, again, I don't understand why they didn't just use him for this rather than try and cookie cutter. I mean, honestly, I felt that way about Lockley in season 5 of Babylon 5. Like, they tried to cookie cutter Ivanova. Lockley was, if we have Ivanova at home. And I feel like she's we have Franklin at home.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't. So it honestly could have been something along the lines of what Rick said, where they didn't want to use him for certain reasons if he was struggling with something.
I can't find anything that says that he ever used
But,
cocaine at all. So
But
Maybe
I
somebody was
also
just making a joke based on his stim thing in the show.
maybe, but
well, he did die of a heart issue, which Rick is saying is a common side effect, but it's also a common side effect of blood pressure issues and genetic issues and all sorts of other things.
Well, listen, we can't know for sure if he was doing any of that stuff, but I
Okay,
did
you can
watch.
speak now, Eraserhead. Go ahead.
No, my bad. But no, just because I did watch an interview with JMS once, and this came from his mouth. So unless he's lying, he said that what's the actor's name? Richard Biggs, I believe.
Yep.
He during Babylon 5, he was going deaf in one of his ears. And it was progressively getting worse to the point where he couldn't hear the people he was acting against. So he would have to learn their lines and almost start reading lips at points. So if he was struggling with that during Babylon 5, it was probably even worse by this point. I understand not having him. You know what I mean? Like that's a tough gig having to act through that. So unless JMS is full of shit, but that's what JMS said, that he was.
Well, I mean, he did
hearing
cover
loss.
for Claudia Christensen's alcoholism and Sinclair's schizophrenia. So he's not one to kiss and tell, other people's issues.
No, I think that's good.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that, like, I wouldn't say if he is not telling the truth, I would say that that's not necessarily him lying. It's that he has a history of, like, not airing other people's dirty laundry.
Yep.
But anyway, back to see, this is how little of a character she is. We are immediately turning to talking about someone more interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about her other than she was there, and no, not especially interesting. It's not even in a way where it's like she annoyed me so much or anything. It just didn't really do anything. She was there.
The biggest scene she has is an excuse for us to get exposition on Max.
Yeah.
That is literally her most important scene.
Well, the biggest problem with her is that the only like real background we get about her comes in, I think, either episode 1 or 2, where she's writing a letter home to, I believe, her sister who's stuck on Earth. And it's a brief scene. It doesn't do much for the character, but at least like it lays something down for you to latch on. She has family members on Earth, and like, but that's all you get about her. It's that one scene that honestly I feel like is edited into the episode kind of weird. Like it just happens at random. It kind of kills the momentum of the episode. But other than that, we don't learn anything about her. Her only purpose, episode to episode, is basically to give Gideon or whoever medical information or some type of, scientific discovery that's going to help advance the plot along or help them solve whatever they're trying to solve. You know what I mean? Like, you'll get like 2/3 of the way through the episode and then she rings in and hey, it's Dr. Chambers. I've just finished analyzing the radioactive space goo and it's made of this, this, and this.
Yeah, she's
there
exposition.
You go.
She is the exposition dump.
Yeah. And then there's that weird episode where she kicks ass in that one scene for some reason. Was
right.
That her?
Even despite the fact that there are several other scenes where like they could have used the ass kicking more, and she just stands there and does nothing.
Yeah, like Max is just like, hey, my wife's in danger. If anyone comes in with a loaded gun, just kick their ass. You got this, honey. It's so strange.
Yeah.
The other thing is that her having a sister on Earth, which gets mentioned literally in the first episode and the second episode and never again, all it did was make me think, hey, how come there aren't more people getting like freaked out about relatives on Earth? Like, no one else on this ship has relatives?
Yeah, like, it's obviously, you'll have some people that might have been born on Mars or some other Earth colony, but the fact that she's the only one, I find weird. And the other thing that I find really annoying with the show is that they try to do like the news broadcast thing that works really well on Babylon 5 at times to try to give us the situation on Earth. Like, people are rioting because, there's no resources or, economies are collapsing because there's no trade to other planets.
That's pretty, and two, it's a pretty big thing to have that if people are in like way off in the middle of nowhere, a small group of people die faster because there's a less of a line to get through for the virus to mutate.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a big deal. And they only mention it in that one episode.
Yeah. But my point is, instead of having the situation on Earth presented via, like, news broadcasts, you could do that maybe once or twice, but they do it all the time. I think at least maybe here and there they could have taken Chambers. Maybe she gets a call from her sister. Maybe there was a riot or an outbreak near her house. It would make the situation more personal, more dire. Where,
well, they still,
it's not some random.
They still needed more people with connections, though. Max makes a point of joking about, how generous he's being. Because, he's not from Earth and doesn't care less, but he's a good guy, so he's helping out. No one else ever says anything to give any impression that they're from anywhere except Earth. And yet, none of them are. In fact, there are people spazzing out because they don't want to go back to Earth. It's just, I don't know. Again, it's just things that didn't make any sense. Like, repeatedly.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
Darina, was that her name?
Yep.
Darina. Yeah.
The alien who is not an alien.
Darina Nafeel.
No feel.
Who is
Nafeel good?
No feel
good.
Who is, I think. So it took me forever to figure out who she is supposed to like line up with. She's supposed to be she's supposed to be Garibaldi.
Yeah, or the fighter with knives.
I mean, hey, Garibaldi's never looked so good. Goddamn.
But she's
except for a little eczema every now and then. She's fine.
But she's another character that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
I see what they were trying to do, and it felt like something that was of the time, at least when I was watching it back then, and I saw Call to Arms, and I saw her character, I was like, yeah, I see what they're trying to do. It just felt like something of the time. She's like, kind of like
I get what you're
a
saying.
misunderstood goth chick.
Well,
But
you
it's
know
not
what?
that. She's the least alien like that's ever appeared on Babylon 5. She barely looks alien. She just,
She has
like
yellow eyes. That's pretty much it.
she
You know,
has contacts and occasionally a forehead wrinkle.
Hmm.
She's supposed to be a thief, and yet she dresses in these like boobalicious outfits that would never ever work for, wiggling through all the tunnels she wiggles through. Um,
I don't know. I'm willing to give that one a pass for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Think about where all that dirt is collecting.
I mean, that just means that eventually there's gonna have to be a shower scene, right?
I'm trying to remember in Call to Arms, like when she runs into the Thieves Guild for the first time, and they're like, "Haha, we caught you," and she's like, "Haha, you did not," and like the chains fell off and everything like that. I was like, "What?"
I hate that scene.
She is
Yeah.
she is less alien than the aliens on the original Star Trek. Like they at least painted
Yeah.
them green.
Yeah,
The
and
Gorn.
the problem is I feel like her backstory doesn't make much sense, sense, and I I feel like she's another one where it's just she does what the plot demands for an episode to end.
James says aliens could mean just from another planet. No, they specifically say repeatedly that she is the last of her species, which also
Hmm.
doesn't make sense because the reason she's not on her planet is that her species is regularly sold into slavery onto other planets.
Yeah, right. So,
So where the heck are all of
What?
the other people that were sold into slavery, like onto other planets? Like, why is she the only one that's left?
They had Life Day, and so they all had to go back for Life Day.
Um, yeah, so there should be like all of these other like individual whatever the heck her race is scattered about, but they don't exist for some reason. But then we do get this completely random colony of crashed slaves where they all lived and none of the slavers did.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Rick's asking in the chat. The Drock killed her home planet. They destroyed the home planet. But it said in multiple episodes that she was sold into slavery and sent to another planet. You assume that that happens to other people of her race. And there's also a whole episode where like a colony of 10,000 of her race were going to set up on another planet, also implying that they have capability for space travel. So in the same way with humans, like yes, if we lose Earth, there's still humans on Mars on say Proxima 3 or whatever. You know, the
Io,
home
Babylon
planet. Yeah,
5.
yeah, yeah. So the home planet is gone, but she shouldn't be the last of her race. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, not even a little bit.
And also like she laments like the death of her race so much, but we don't really
But they
learn
sold
anything about her, and we're also told that she was sold into slavery at a ridiculously young age. So how
as
much
a
of her
little
home
kid,
world
yeah.
could she have really known? Um,
Well, they're a delicacy on some planets, I guess.
Jesus, oh my. I feel like her entire personality is wanting revenge, because of what the Drock did. But I don't know. I feel like I
There's no
I feel
reason
like
for her
with
to
how
be that
much,
attached.
yeah, like I feel like with how much she says like she cares about her people and like what happened, I think a way like a much more interesting story would kind of be in the way that Galen kind of has his own agenda at points. She would have her own where like, hey, let's head to this planet because there might be a cure. Meanwhile, she's actually going there just to free people of her race who are enslaved there. Like I think that would have, giving her her own ulterior motives might have worked in a situation like that. Instead, it's just this really like comic book esque like I'm just out for revenge, and it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, the
I'm out
only
for
reason
revenge,
she's
but
on the
doesn't make any
crew
sense.
is that she can break into things.
Which she tells us to our face, like stares down the barrel of the camera and goes, "I'm a thief," and I'm a damn
Yes,
good one.
I know.
If you need me to get into something, go around something. Like
Yep.
it's so just, you know.
Every D&D party does need a thief. Who else is going to
I
pick the
get it, but
locks?
I don't think
No,
you
I'm
need
not
to.
arguing with you. I'm just, uh, it,
It's
I'm
just so
just,
cheesy to me, man.
I'm ornamenting the argument. But we have our Galen wizard, we have our Doreen thief, and we have a doctor. She's the cleric, and who's the fighter? Oh, I guess that happens to be Gideon. And then I guess what's his name is the telepath is kind of like an elf paladin or
Well, they have
something like that.
scions. D&D did have
Okay.
scions.
Oh yeah.
But
But
who's the bard though?
I don't know that you needed to have a bard, except in
Max.
Bard's
Max
Tale.
is definitely the bard. He tells all sorts of stories and he dances and
He's the most annoying character.
What?
and yet I like him the best.
Dude, I think he's the best character on the show.
I mean, both can be true.
That's fair. That's fair.
He is both annoying. And that's what I was saving him for last, specifically because he's the only character that's not two-dimensional and that makes a little bit of sense. Yeah, okay, if we're using the D&D analogy, Babylon 5 characters felt like people. These
Yes.
do in fact feel like D&D characters, and
Yeah.
her background feels like the teenager who wants to play the most tragic possible character.
I
And
know
so-
that's what I was saying.
And so therefore, well, but so we have like, oh, I was sold into slavery, and my family's dead, and I'm the last of my species, and so like every like tragic D&D trope has been crammed into one character, who also sits there and says, I don't trust people because every time I do, I regret it, and she then immediately trusts whoever she's talking to about whatever she's talking to. And then, for some apparent reason, she decides she wants to be a technomage, like totally out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, I'd
Wouldn't,
you
you know.
And then after that one episode, it's never mentioned again.
Yeah. One of my big issues with her too was it was episode 3, the one with Matheson and the internal affairs telepath, where in the first 2 episodes, her and Matheson hardly interact. There's no like specific scene with the two of them. There's no reason for her to trust or care about him. But then once he's being investigated, she's asking Gideon about him, which kind of seems out of the blue. And then by the end of the episode, like, she's helping Gideon, like, plot against this guy for Matheson's sake. And I don't really understand why she was going out of her way for Matheson at that point when they had
because
not
he became
interacted at all.
downtrodden at that point, and so she's helping the downtrodden.
Yeah, but poof, all of a sudden she can block powerful telepaths
Right.
because she's so single-minded.
Ooh.
Yeah, she exists to move the plot wherever it needs to move. That seems to be her role.
Yeah, I mean, it was all it's based on D&D characters. It's the party, and that's how she fit in. But it also was. It seemed like everyone needed to have an angsty goth chick by that time, even though it wasn't really. That had already happened prior. Maybe like 8-9 years before. There was a little bit of a delay, I guess, in some TV shows to get in there, and so that's what they needed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying I think she's one of the worst written.
Oh no, I didn't say it was
Goth
good.
chicks.
I didn't say it was a good thing. It just I could see what they're doing, and it was just too obvious. It wasn't like a character; it was like a character type.
Wow.
Well,
I think Max might be even harder to find an image for.
And why did the
Really?
Drazi with the hiding stuff in his armpit crotch have to die? Why? Why couldn't we have him on the show?
That
The
that
armpit crotch.
did seem incredibly weird.
Purple.
Oh man.
Yeah, that did
Um,
seem incredibly weird.
but like Wayfarer, you were saying that Darina kind of feels like a character of that time and era,
Yeah.
and like the more I'm thinking about it, she kind of feels like a character that should have existed in like Farscape. I don't know like if anyone else feels that way, but I feel like
No,
It's been
no.
highly recommended to me, but I have not seen Farscape yet.
the characters in
Oh, okay.
Farscape are better written than she is.
Oh no, but I'm saying like the type of character she is, like the badass. Like I could see her kind of showing up for like a string of episodes in Farscape. I'm not saying she's well written or that like she should be on that show. I'm just saying like the way they present her and the type of alien she is, she kind of seems like a Farscape alien to me.
Okay,
Maybe
so
that's
the
just me.
the only picture I can find of Max is apparently there was a collectible set of cards for Crusade, and you can get all of them signed.
Yay.
Wow.
They apparently are going for, especially like Galen and a couple of the others. They're going for like £50 a piece. So
Oh, pounds. So only in the UK?
so it's $60 or something here.
Probably, yeah, 60 to 75.
So I find this really fascinating because, first of all, I think he was one of the better actors on the show. Second of all, he's the only character with nuance. I don't know if it was intentional nuance or if the actor was just good enough to actually do something with his character. And yes, he's annoying, but it works.
He's supposed to be.
He just came across as telling you, I'm cool. You can tell I'm cool, aren't I? I'm really cool.
Yeah,
That's-
but he's a genius and he's an arrogant asshole, and like I feel like it works really well. I feel like he's the most consistent character on the show.
He's the only
and-
one whose motivation never changes.
Yeah, and honestly, because he's so snarky, the show has like these really, really horrible attempts at humor, but a couple of his jokes are, I think, the only ones for me that actually land in the show. The delivery just works. His like pessimism just works. Yeah, like I said, I love watching Galen on screen, just because I think Woodward is killing it and chewing up the scenery. But
Oh, yeah.
in terms of performance and consistency of character, for me it goes to Max. It really does, man.
Yeah, I so when Rings of Power came out, there were a lot of comments about the fact that sometimes it felt like someone else had written the dwarves because they were written so much better. I sort of feel like it feels like someone else wrote Max, because everyone else is so two-dimensional and they can't, their goals aren't consistent, their personalities aren't consistent, the timeline isn't consistent. And while Max does have one inconsistency, Eraser, you were saying earlier that there's a line where they talk about him having been assigned to the mission,
Oh yeah,
but
so
they also rescue him.
yeah. So in episode 9, which like I said was meant to be the pilot, Gideon and Max Eilerson are kind of arguing because Gideon's like, A, your attitude sucks, and B, I thought you'd be working a little quicker. Like you've been trying to decipher these hieroglyphs in the same room for 3 hours. And like basically I'm putting up with your shit because when you were assigned to us, they said that you were the best. But the thing is, like you were saying, he was never officially assigned to the Excalibur. Like Chambers was assigned to the they were all brought together before the ship went out. He was not with them. He was never officially assigned. They answer a distress beacon, which the show loves to remind you that, Gideon always answers a distress beacon in case you fucking forgot.
Well, they had to keep
and
something consistent about him.
No, yeah, it's just the amount of times they just say it outright, though,
Yeah.
really annoys me. It's like they have no faith that their audience is above the age of 4.
We are pretty sure you could not remember this from last week.
Yeah, dude, there's times where they're flashing back to something that happened in the episode 20 minutes ago. Shit like that I can't stand. But the point I'm getting at is that Max is never assigned to the Excalibur. They rescue him because he sends out a distress beacon, and he just so happens to conveniently be exactly what they don't have on their team yet. They don't have a linguist and they don't have an archaeologist, and he just magically happens to be both. But that line from the intended pilot, episode 9, doesn't gel well with what we've seen because he was never officially assigned. And it's one of those things where you can look past it if you want, but usually a show has to do a lot of good things for me to look past like a small line that maybe doesn't gel or is a bit off. But when everything's weak, you kind of can't help but notice it, or they haven't earned enough leeway for me to let that go. It simply doesn't work.
This is where my optimism comes into play, which is, wow, compared to everyone else, that's the only mistake with his character. Everyone else is so much worse.
Oh, but no, but that's more of a mistake with like continuity with the like it's not an inconsistency within his character or his characterization. It's more of a timeline fuck up.
It's yet another writing / timeline issue. Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do love his arrogance. See, like I know Jacob was saying he doesn't really like him. I think it goes over incredibly well. There were some things they do with his character in the last couple episodes that had me rolling my eyes. The whole alien porn on his data crystal thing was beyond stupid. But
well, the fact that they talk about him being really uptight, I thought was really weird, because he's not really uptight. He has very specific ways he thinks things should be done, but I wouldn't go so far as to say he was uptight. Like they don't do anything with that idea ahead of time. They don't ahead of time give us this impression of him as a prude. I mean,
because they would have announced it.
The
way the show goes.
He's drunk and acting like an idiot, in a completely different episode. So there's nothing that really suggests that, he's going to stick up his ass.
Well, maybe it's just the face and acting. Yeah, I kind of got a feeling of uptightness the first time I saw him, but that it could just be me reading into the portrayal, not that it was intended.
I think we tend to connect arrogance with uptightness, so that they may just have been kind of playing on the fact that people would feel that way.
I guess it's because you need a certain degree of tightness in order to keep up a facade. In arrogance.
I'd say it's more that he's confrontational. You know what I mean? Like he always has something back to say to Gideon. But I wouldn't say uptight. He usually he's kind of like laughing at the situation or being like, this is ridiculous, or kind of having his like, I'm only in it for the technology or the money. But he's usually joking. And like I said earlier, I think his jokes and bits of comedy are the only ones that actually land in the show.
Maybe. Yeah, I think I was just saying straight up front that it was probably me more of a perception of just how I felt about him, not like how the character is.
I don't think you're
I
alone. I
didn't.
do think I do think that there is a tendency to see him that way, but if you stop and analyze it, I'm just saying I'm not sure why. Um, because they don't really give us that at all.
No.
Again, bad writing.
Yeah, that's the thing you have to weed through. But character creation and writing do, while they are different stages, they go hand in hand, and they take a lot of going back and adjusting as you're creating something and you're writing out the characters. Sometimes you need to change them a little bit because you discover some cool things you want to do with them. But I never felt the excitement from this that anybody was taking it that seriously. They were kind of like templating
Yeah.
it, and it seemed that's why I felt it was like low effort. Templating it on something that, yeah, maybe is a little different, D&D party, but
I know she was kind of a one-off bit character, but does anybody have any strong feelings about his ex-wife?
what
Oh, I
episode
mean,
is that? I don't.
seven maybe
That's just
somewhere
one.
around
Yeah,
there.
that's one beyond being. Yeah, I didn't get there yet.
I mean, I love the I have your cat. We've been divorced for a while. But by the way, can I have 100,000 credits and protection because people are out to get me? Thanks. Used to love you. Yeah, that's.
By the way, how old is this cat?
Well, we don't know how long they've been
mean-
divorced either.
How long do cats live in the future?
I mean, cats nowadays live, 20 plus years sometimes.
Depends if they run into Lorian, they could be extended by 20.
I don't know. I thought, I mean, I really hated her initially, and then she says, "I'm sorry, I keep having to call you for help. I don't even know why you pick up the phone." Like, she has some self-awareness at the very end. And then he has his line about, "I pick up the phone because in my life I've only loved three things.
Oh,
My work, that damn cat, and you."
his three favorite things in the universe.
And then he just walks away. And it, as corny as that scene is, if it had been any other character in this show, I think I would have rolled my eyes. And yet, he somehow made it believable.
Oh yeah, I think it actually lands. Like you said, it's a little a little bit cheesy, but it works, and it adds that bit of nuance to his character because for the most part at this point, like he is, he's got an attitude. He doesn't really give a damn about finding the cure to the Drock plague.
Well, he
He's
does
there
because he
for
wants.
money.
He does because he wants to be famous.
No, but my
Yeah.
point is he's either there for money or for technology. Like he's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart.
No.
We see him put profit over the mission, or not even care about the mission because we could be checking this out somewhere else, and kind of have this heartless approach. So you see that episode, and it adds a bit to his character, and then I believe in a couple episodes time he also or actually I'm sorry, I think it was a couple episodes before this episode, but he has that moment at the end of the episode where he's thinking about typing up his report and revealing that everything there is on a certain planet, but he doesn't do it for Darina because it's the only place where her race is left, is that one planet. And you could maybe sum that up to the fact that, they did rescue him after all, and he does have some bit of appreciation for that. But I feel like in a show that is way too on the nose with a lot of things, he's the only character with a bit of subtlety.
And considering that he gets accused all the time of only doing things for credit, he not only does that for her, he doesn't tell her he's done it for her.
Yeah.
So he's not, just doing it so that she'll like him.
Like I said, man, the only one with a bit of nuance.
Wow.
Because with, like one of the things a lot of people try to like give the show a little bit of leeway with is by saying, oh well, if it had got more episodes, maybe the characters would have become stronger. And with how flat some of them are after 13 episodes, I really don't know if another 13 would have made them much better. I think Max is the only one that I could see wanting to see more of and wanting to see how he progresses. I really don't care about anyone else. I'm only watching Galen for Woodward's performance.
Yeah.
I really don't care much about the character.
Well, and I don't think it's a very good argument anyway, because we've seen Babylon 5. We know how quickly they managed to make us care about those characters, or at least get us engaged with those characters. And so I think that argument just doesn't work.
Oh, absolutely, man. I rewatched The Gathering today just for the sake of doing so, and that one pilot gives you more about its characters in an hour and a half than 13 episodes of Crusade. It's not even episode 4, 5, 6 of Babylon. The Gathering, dude, you get such a clear idea of who Sinclair is and about his past. Garibaldi, you get like a great sense of the history of the Centauri Republic just in The Gathering through Londo. You obviously don't get the full history, but you get a great image that they're this huge empire in decline. There's so much there, not only about character work, but Babylon 5 had to do world building too, and they tackle both at once phenomenally.
Well, even
man.
the Narns too.
Yeah, dude, seriously.
Oh yeah, you hate Jakar from moment one, which you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Jakar for the minute one.
I mean, not from a moral standpoint,
no,
but yes, like I'm not sure of what your pleasure threshold is. You're like, oh, you slimy son of a bitch.
No, but you get an idea that he has more wisdom than he did pretty soon afterwards. It was just beginning in the episode with what's his name? Sinclair's girlfriend, when she comes to visit and she breaks down at that planet where he warned her not to go and rescues her and then gives that explanation at the end. That's a beautiful explanation for advanced life forms. It's like, try explaining yourself to an insect.
Yep. No one here is exactly what they seem. And maybe that's what I like so much about Max's character, is that he is the only character in Crusades that is not exactly what he seems. But on that note, it is 9:00. I want to give everyone time to plug their stuff. See if I can make everything go back to the way it's supposed to go. There we go. All right. Wayfarer Project, please tell us about what you're doing these days and where people can find you.
Well, you can find me at the Wayfarer Project. So it does what it says on the tin, as they like to say in the UK. We're Sunday nights. We're doing the aforementioned Babylon 5, and that archer by the name of Colin in the chat joins us every Sunday. This Sunday we're going to take one Sunday off because one of our friends, Swappers, you may know him from Mr. Brown Alliance, has released a new chapter in his story Praxium of the Pathfinders, which is a Star Wars fan fiction story that takes place in place of The Last Jedi and going forward. So we'll be touching base with him, but then we'll be right back to Babylon 5s on Sunday. Wednesday, we are doing Excalibur this week. We like to do Arthurian topics, and maybe later we'll expand into other fantasy, but definitely like the historical fantasy type stuff, especially Arthurian legends we're doing right now. We did Merlin 1998. Now we're doing Excalibur this Wednesday. It'll probably be 4 weeks of that. We're also joined by his friend Alex at FFSI, I believe is the abbreviation. Fine Fantasy something. I shouldn't even mention it if I don't know the name of it. But anyway, we'll have two Brits on Wednesday, which is great. The more people from the home country you get, the let's say the more respectable you become.
I don't know. I know some people from there. I'm not sure I'd go that far.
We have well-mannered folks. But Friday we're doing music. The Fender Stratocaster. Our friend Mike Gorley will be talking about the history of the fine instrument and some of the great players and stuff like that. We'll try to get away with as much music as we can mention without playing
Excellent.
because of copyright.
Sweet.
All right, Eraser. Anything you want to plug?
Not really, man. I'll be back here next week to talk about this wonderful sleep aid of a show.
I think I might be too if I pass the audition.
Of course. The whole idea was for you to be here for the whole kit and caboodle.
But yeah, I'll be hanging out in the chat tomorrow at Jacob's at what is that, 8:00 Eastern, I believe.
7 Central. Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll be back here next week. Same goat time, same goat channel, same shitty show.
Crusades, not this one.
Oh yeah, Crusade.
Yeah. This one won't get canceled.
All right, and Jacob.
Tomorrow night I'll be going over the last 3 episodes of DS9 Dominion War episodes. And then next month I'll be replacing that with Babylon 5. So we'll be going over that. And Thursdays I'm usually on Roman of the Empire's channel, and I'll be back here next week.
I haven't been on that for a while. I should find out if Roman's been taking his goat allergy meds.
And
well, Jacob, I'm sorry to ask, but I've heard of you here and there, but I don't think I've ever streamed with you before, except maybe Goat's birthday. So it's great to meet you. And for at least my benefits, what is the name of your channel?
Same as my name here, Jacob. Jacob Ironside.
Okay. I think tomorrow I'll be working on slides, but I'll stop by the chat and listen in on that because, DS9, I mean, there's things I love about, things I don't love about it. But, the Dominion War was pretty hectic, as the kids today say.
Yeah, and Jacob, you're doing Babylon 5 one episode at a time, like one episode per stream?
Well, the first episode is The Gathering. I'm doing that first, and then there'll be 2 episodes after that.
Okay.
And it's I think it's like the second. No, it's the. I think 1, 2. Yeah, it's the third Tuesday of the month. Doing Babylon 5. So.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that actually has to look at the calendar and count.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I just keep it every Sunday for now, but we'll see.
Yeah, guys, in the chat, I mean, if for whatever reason you haven't seen Babylon 5 yet, please start, man.
No, I think everyone has probably by now.
But if you haven't, for whatever reason, like I said, I think it's the greatest sci-fi show of all time.
I belong to a bunch of Babylon 5 Facebook groups, and somebody was just saying, I've never seen Babylon 5, and I'm about to be stuck in a cabin for a month with no internet. Is my life going to be changed? And they had the whole set of Babylon 5 shows.
Yeah, if you have all of them, yeah. Plus, I mean, I don't know that you need all the specials, but it does help, even if some aren't great. It helps a bit because there's some good points in the number of the specials. But the pilot is always good to at least see at some point to see how it fits.
Yeah.
But see, the pilot was the pilot. I do not consider I don't know when that got categorized as a TV movie.
Mm.
Um, because I will always look at that as just being the pilot.
But it is just cool to see. I didn't see it until afterwards, and when I did, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." The costumes weren't as good, but you know,
Yeah.
the music wasn't as good. I like Christopher Frank's,
They're better than the bellhop outfit.
although Stuart Copeland is a fine musician, but best in the Police.
Oh yeah, I love Stewart, but like you said, man, Christopher Frank just worked
Yeah.
perfectly.
Well,
for
that's another
Babylon
thing.
5.
We don't have that category for Crusade. The call to arms and Crusade music.
Well, I think
it was
we're
like
doing
the
that
night before.
the,
It was like the night before, so let's make it atonal and just get it submitted on time.
I went out of my way to make sure that my new intro music was more epic than than the Crusade intro music.
Well, listen, for the last stream in this Crusade run, I think we're tackling visuals and music, so
Oh, okay.
we get to talk about just how lackluster the Crusade soundtrack is.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
At that point
And
in
the
my
intro.
life, I could have done a better job, and I was still in school. You know, well, grad
Wayfarer.
school, but it was still school.
Listen, man, I could take my MIDI keyboard and put 2 of my cats on it and let them walk around, and just
And you'd
leave
have
the
that.
room, dude. It's really disappointing. But we'll get
All right.
into that in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we will. All right. I want to thank the chat for being here. I want to thank the panel for being here. I hope to see you back again next Monday. I'm trying to remember what we're talking about next Monday.
This.
Well,
The
yes.
the overall plot.
What is it?
itself.
The over? Oh God, I blocked it out in self-defense.
Does that include writing?
Oh man.
Not in this show. No, okay.
Yeah, we've covered bits and pieces here, but yeah, we'll get into depth as to how choppy that mess is.
Yeah, I'm going to finish the rest of them in my rewatch by then. So then I'll be able to talk about how it all fits together.
Good. I mean, it doesn't fit together, but you
Yeah.
can try.
Nothing fits, and then it
And-
just ends. It's
And why
wow.
why do the Drac only attack Earth and stop right there? They don't attack any other colonies.
Yeah, that was
Well,
a
because they
mistake
get their ass kicked in Earth, but
the Drock. First
Wasted.
of all, my opinion on them is they're no shadows. But in this, that was one mistake I think they made was putting them in episode 2. No, 1.
wait for next week, folks. We
Yeah.
need something to discuss.
Okay.
next week.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Everyone have a wonderful night. And as always, happy headbutting.
Later.
Take care.
It's a fucking good.
Eclectic Goat's got videos of indie authors and cinema love. A passion for the weird and the strange. She's snappily dressed and only slightly deranged. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy head hunting, come join the herd. Shows might be a little improper. We've got real zombie, fake whizzes the other. Pizza in one hoof, glass in the other. Deciding which role-playing games we will cover. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy headbutting, come join the herd. Got a thing for black and white screens, crappy horror with low budget scenes. Choose on the history, spits out the law. Time for another whiskey pour. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy headbutting, come join the herd.